Do you need some help teaching your dog where you want him to pee or poop and when? If so, I hope you'll check out our brand new, totally free house training guide. You can find it at schoolforthedogs.com/house. It's filled with lots of really good tips on how to train a dog to potty in the right spot, but it also is going to explain to you how to teach your dog to do it on cue. So go check it out. schoolforthedogs.com/house. My name is Annie Grossman, and I'm a dog trainer. I'm the owner and co-founder of School for the Dogs, a dog training center located in Manhattan's East Village.
School for the dogs, for the dogs. School for the dogs, for the dogs.
On this podcast, I talk about dog training, interview industry experts, discuss pet trends, answer questions, and try to communicate my love for all things related to behavioral science. Thanks a lot for listening. I think this podcast will help make you the best possible human best friend any dog could ask for.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tamara Meyer. I am the owner of New York City-based dog hiking and training company, Up Your Pup, which I founded in 2017. Dating back, I have always felt very connected with animals and drawn to them, obviously dogs especially. But as a kid, I needed to stop and pet every dog that walked by on the street. It's funny because I actually did not grow up with dogs in my early age. I spent actually 18 years of my life begging my parents to get a dog, and it was literally years and years and years of begging, and my mom, being very stubborn, was always saying no, just simply based on, her thoughts about the house being stinky and hair everywhere. And I just wouldn't budge either. So I totally persisted and finally convinced my parents in 2007, when they agreed to get a dog. And, I had my heart set on a lab. And I just felt that a lab would fit in perfectly with our family. So I did tons of research, and we were paired with our amazing dog when he was around 8 weeks old. But that moment that he came home truly carved kind of my life path. And I oftentimes get emotional talking about my dog, Simba, because he unfortunately passed 3 years ago. And I have so much to be grateful to him for, but he's really the reason behind every milestone I've accomplished the last 4 years. And of course, the biggest one being starting my own company.
Did you go to college? Did you study anything relating to dogs in college? Or did you work in any areas before?
So it wasn't until I really graduated from college that I knew I needed to set myself up for this career, where I wanted to have really professional experience working with dogs for around 2 years, because I was just thinking very far ahead, and I was planning out, what do I need to do to get myself, like, have the most experience I could, work with every kind of dog, every breed, every temperament, and really set myself off on that path. So right out of college, I began working for a local dog walking and training company in my town, knowing this was the first step to gaining professional experience, since I just wanted to get as much exposure and learn all I could about dogs. So I shadowed trainers, and I trained with my own dog whenever he was up for it. Um, I also, during this time, decided to take the Karen Pryor Academy Foundations course, and learn the foundations of clicker training, which I began to apply, these skills daily that I was learning. It was just the perfect time for me to, like, really focus on it. And it was just the most amazing experience. Being in person at the workshops, everything kind of came together. But even before that, through growing up in my hometown, And the reason I really kind of became comfortable with being out in nature and with dogs out in nature was it was just by chance, but I took Simba hiking in my hometown when he was young for the first time. And we happened to run into a pack of about 10 other dogs with their owners. And, we kind of hung out with them that day. My dog fit in right away with the pack. Um, that first day, he made so many new friends right off the bat, and it was just literally life changing. Me and Simba started going every day at 5 to meet up with this group in this trail in my town. It didn't matter what the weather was, rain, sleet, snow. We were out hiking and having fun and, just seeing the dogs literally become ingrained with one another over the years and all these lifelong friendships develop. I essentially became one with nature and being in nature with dogs. I literally just I fell in love with the experience of being outside and through spending so much time over the years with a large dog pack in the great outdoors, I developed, a very specific skill set and understanding of kind of how the pack mentality works. And I just became extremely comfortable handling dogs in this sort of scenario. And, it was just kind of one thing led to the other. But when I was working with that company fresh out of college, I sort of, about 2 years into it, I fell in love with the job and being, hands-on with the dogs and working with the dogs, and it was just inseparable bonds that were being created. But I always felt that I had kind of more to offer, on a day-to-day basis. I felt oftentimes, that 30-minute walks, just weren't it wasn't enough for many of my dogs, especially for the higher energy dogs, even though I would actually cover an insane amount of ground in 30 minutes since I was essentially already jogging with them. But, I felt I had more to offer the dogs and essentially wanted to develop a trail running program for the dogs that needed more than just a 30-minute walk. The dogs that needed more mental and physical stimulation in a structured, kind of controlled environment. And several of the dogs that I had been working with had anxiety, and I just felt, it would be more of a much needed life balance for them. I decided at that point to leave the company, and I just went off on my own, and that's how Shape Up Your Pup was born.
Now, why don't you describe what you're doing with Shape Up Your Pup?
So, Shape Up Your Pup is a New York City dog hiking and training company. We pick up dogs Monday through Friday from 9 to 11 a.m. and we drive out within an hour of the city. We spend the day hiking in beautiful trails that are all located within an hour of Manhattan. All of our summer hikes are hosted at the water. We pair the dogs based on temperament and fitness ability, which is something that I assess prior to ensure that all the dogs have a very positive experience coming into the pack. And it's something that, through my experience with Simba, the lifelong friendships, it's all about that and really having, a steady routine and steady faces for all the dogs in my pack. And it is so heartwarming and rewarding to come across a dog that has anxiety in the city and is just so fearful of every little noise, and just walking outside is it's difficult, and just kind of seeing the shift and transformation in every kind of way. The minute we get into the trail, it's an experience I can't put into words. A lot of the dogs that I hike are not really in love with the city. Can you blame them? But um, it's just a beautiful experience being there and seeing these changes happen before your eyes, and all of these lifelong friendships develop, and dogs kind of encourage each other. One dog hates the water the first hike, and then by hike 3 is putting his or her paws in the water and just feeling it out and just getting comfortable. But where there's such a demand for dogs actually that, walking on pavement, it's hard, and getting them out into the wild is what I do. So we do it year round. Doesn't matter what the weather is. We will, of course, cancel a hike if it's really bad out and the roads are bad. But it's been great. I mean, we have an amazing group of dogs that hikes weekly, um, and we kind.
What do you do in like the rain? Are they just get wet and that's it?
Yeah, so it's funny because a lot of dog owners say like, "Oh, my dog hates the rain," and funny because when we get out there, they don't even notice it's raining. Um, but we do hike in the rain. It won't be like a torrential downpour, but yes, we do hike in the rain, and we do hike, in the snow if the snow is on the ground. But of course, safety first. So if I ever feel that the conditions aren't safe for the dogs, we will. It's weather permitting.
Now, curious, going back, when you were a kid and you're begging your parents for a dog, what did you think about dog training, or did you ever think about dog training? Were you watching the Dog Whisperer on TV, or did you just have no clue?
So I actually was watching the Dog Whisperer. It was something that I knew I was going to do at some point in my life.
What,
I
get a dog or become a dog trainer?
both. Um,
Oh, really? Wow.
it was more getting a dog was something I always knew I wanted. And it was something I knew was going to kind of push me in the direction that I always knew I was meant to be. I don't know if that sounds crazy, but I just, I knew that I was born to work with dogs. And I, it wasn't really until I started working with dogs professionally that I felt I could begin to set myself up for that. But I had always planned for it. So I knew, like, back when I was applying for jobs, I was looking at what kind of experience is required to become something, more serious in this field. And a lot of them were saying, oh, like 2 to 3 years minimum, and, dog training experience and this and that. So I just always kind of had that in the back of my mind. And I always kind of planned my future based on, what do I need to do to really, you know, kind of leave my mark in the dog world. And it was, it was just a perfect time. Everything just kind of happened and unfolded perfectly on this timeline. But it was tough, obviously, balancing, the business and the dog training course that I was doing, as you have done it as well, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Well, I wasn't in the business yet. I was thinking about it.
right.
But I'm curious how you found, I mean, were you just lucky in that you found KPA and it happened to be like a program that sort of went along with your values, or do you think because I feel like I got lucky because I probably could have just as easily ended up in like a punishment based or, quote unquote balance based training program. Really knew nothing going in.
Right. Well, I really gravitated toward the positive reinforcement aspect of it. And I actually spoke with my boss at the time, who, she kind of knew of Karen Pryor, and we were talking about which one she thought would be a good fit for me. And she kind of pointed me in that direction early in when I was doing just the foundations.
Mhm.
And I decided to continue on and do the professionals with them as well, because I just was so aligned with their values and the way that, that I wanted to compose my business. And training with dogs, it just was very aligned with who I am as an individual.
When you started doing hiking with dogs, were you aware of any other companies that were also doing hiking with dogs in New York?
I sort of knew of I knew that there was something of the sort, but I didn't really know of anything specific. I knew more so about a company that was doing dog running in the city, but nothing specific to that. No.
There are at least half a dozen companies that
Yes.
are doing this. Is
Yes.
that right?
Yes. Now, yes. Now I am definitely aware of other companies that are doing this, and kind of popping up left and right. But I'm very
Do
fond.
you ever meet each other out on the trails and have?
So I actually I speak actually with one company who my one of my clients who moved to Brooklyn. I needed to figure out a solution for her in Brooklyn. So, I am friendly with one of the companies. I don't know if I have run into a few, but I don't know if they're local to the areas that we go or if they're
Right.
from Manhattan. Most of the times, if I see a large pack of dogs, we kind of pivot and do our own thing. So I don't really have one on one interaction with, other packs if we do come across them.
What do you feel differentiates you from other people who are offering a similar service in New York?
Well, I I want to say that I bring my heart and soul into this. And I do feel that my clients and the dogs that hike with me feel that every minute being with me. I just consider every single pack member part of my family. Um, and I do think that what sets me aside is how much I prioritize safety as well as their well-being. Nothing is more important to me than that. am fully transparent with my clients, whether it's a positive or a negative. I just make sure that everybody is basically feeling like they're part of something that, I always envision what I would expect as a dog owner. And my expectations are very high and my standards are extremely high. And would I trust somebody with my dog? And what would I require of that person in order for me to be able to trust them with my dog? And that's sort of the standard that I feel I bring to the table. So it's something I don't take lightly, and of course, I put a lot of pressure on myself to make sure that everything is perfect. And I really really make a solid effort to show the owners at the end of the day exactly kind of what happens on the hike, and kind of overwhelm them with information and overwhelm them with, content, photos, and videos for them to really feel like they are part of the day and to see and feel and be there. Because I feel that that's where kind of the magic happens. And I feel so fortunate to be able to share these moments with the owners. Um, I just, I really just prioritize the dog's well-being. It's all about the dogs, and they come first and they always will. So whatever I need to do to keep them safe and make sure that everybody's accounted for and happy and thriving is what I'm going to do. I
Tell me about safety, because it's something that we in the past have toyed with the idea of doing something similar at school for the dogs, but have always sort of stopped short of considering it because it seemed like too much liability to be out in the woods with dogs off leash. How do you mitigate that?
Right. I mean, I definitely think it takes a certain type of individual to be able to succeed in this type of business. I think that I do.
Well,
I
more than
really,
that, I mean, there must be like precautions and insurance, and I mean,
yes.
what do you do?
So, well, I'm an LLC. So that's one. But I also have insurance with Pet Sitters International and Business Insurers of the Carolinas. I also, of course, need to protect myself. But it's kind of something, you know, I go into my day prepared. And we're prepared to handle emergencies, and we're prepared to handle, you know, stressful situations, because being out in the woods, you just have to be ready for anything. And we have a handbook that we've created, and I'm very fortunate to have amazing employees who actually put it together for me. Um, but a little handbook about what to do if, you know, XYZ happens. And, you know, a little pamphlet about wildlife and what to do if you encounter XYZ wildlife. And I just kind of feel, you know, that in order to succeed in this business, you have to anticipate what's going to happen, and you have to be a step ahead. And I really pride myself on the fact, knock on wood, you know, nothing tremendous has happened. But I am always a step ahead, and I'm always ready to spring into action. So I feel prevention is key. And being a step ahead allows me to keep them safe, um, whatever it takes. And we implement, you know, dog training, of course, into every single hike.
But
We
you also have the dogs wear tracking
Yes,
collars, right?
yes.
And bells
I'm going on
sometimes
a
too?
tangent. Yes, so we use bear bells, so that if there's any wildlife in the area, it's basically an alert for them that, hey, you were around, just giving them an escape route. So we don't want to sneak up on wildlife. They're actually more dangerous if startled.
Mhm.
So we just want to kind of do our own thing, but also announce our presence. Um, so we wear bear bells. I provide Garmin satellite-based trackers for every dog that hikes. Um, they are phenomenal. So I have the Garmin Astro 430, and you can pair up to 20 devices at once. Not that I'm doing that, but
Mhm.
you can actually see which direction the dog's facing. That's how accurate it is. And they work out in, you know, areas that we might not have cellular service. So um, as much as I like other tracking devices, I have found the Garmin's to be the most reliable, and the most safe. And it's, you know, it's a precautionary measure, because I just, you can't put a price on safety, and I prioritize it, to no end. So whatever we need to do to keep the dogs safe is what we're going to do. As
Mhm.
far as the car, we have a safety gate that separates, basically, you know, the back from the cockpit, and all the dogs are wearing seatbelts the entire drive, so the dogs aren't just loose, you know, in the back. If we open the doors, of course we practice impulse control and no jumping out, but
Do you
we
have a
also,
certain kind of seatbelt you use
so
or recommend?
it's actually just a seatbelt attachment. I can get you the name later on, but yeah, it's just seatbelt attachments that I attach to the actual seatbelts in the back. So if God forbid there was ever a situation, you know, they would not be flying around.
So they're just attached to whatever harness they're wearing.
Yes, for the most part. I do
Mhm.
have seatbelt harnesses for a few of the dogs, mainly the bigger ones, but
Mhm.
yeah, and we bring, you know, a ton of water on the hikes. Um,
How many dogs do you have at a time, and how many clients do you work with in total?
I have, I want to say around 50. That's if, you know, all are active, on a weekly basis, but also, you know, fluctuates, depending on the time of year. Like, you know, of course, summer is a little bit lighter because we have a lot of clients that go, away for the summers. Day to day, we hike on average 8 to 10 dogs, more or less. So I could have more than that, but if I do have more than that, and if it's over 12, then I will have a third person there. So that also ties into the safety factor, because we like the ratio of people to dogs to be, you know, safe and reasonable. Um, so, I'll have a third person meet us at the trail and do the hike portion with us. And it's pretty seamless and it works out really well. But if for any reason, God forbid, there's an emergency, I mean, you got to have another person there to help handle whatever might happen. So,
Mhm.
you know,
How do you deal with keeping the dogs close enough to you that you're not stressed out about where they are while you're walking in the woods?
so all the dogs generally stay close. Of course, I have, hunters that do like to go a little bit farther off trail and pursue a scent and whatnot. But, all the dogs have a very firm touch. So all the dogs recall when we ask. We practice this throughout the hike. Um, I don't, really particularly hike dogs that won't respond well to that sort of cue and that sort of environment. Um, if I find that, a dog needs more training in that area, we'll do more training in that area. I love off leash training. It's my specialty, as
Mhm.
you can imagine. But we will kind of circle back if ever need be for a particular dog that might need more work in that area. But for the most part, the dogs really generally stay close and I do trust them. And I know their personalities too. So I know which dogs I can trust a little bit more than others. And I kind of gauge situationally. If I know a dog is, kind of very scent driven and hunt driven, I'll be more on that dog's case, of course, and we'll be practicing recall maybe every single minute.
Mhm.
And for example, we have one dog in particular who he loves hunting, and he kind of made a 360 in the last couple months because we've been doing a lot of work with him. But he initially was just, I felt he wasn't very present with me as the handler. He was just more interested in the environment and what was going on around him. And every little kind of noise or sound was like, his senses were through the roof and he just couldn't control it. Um, we did a lot of work with. He was hiking on a long leash for a while. And I will proudly say he's transformed. I mean, he's just a different dog in all the best ways. We have been doing so much work with him. And it's incredible. It's incredible. Like if I were to show you videos of him then and now, it's just, oh my God, his attentiveness, his presence, he's giving me that eye contact that I've been yearning for. He just he's just so present there with me and I totally trust him now.
Mhm.
So he just needed a new direction. He needed kind of somebody to step in and take direction and kind of show him this is what I want. Um, and I truly feel he's a different dog. Um, and again, I assess the recall beforehand. So we do the meet and greet in Manhattan. Sometimes I do semi-private hikes or a private hike
Mhm.
to kind of gauge whether any further work is necessary. And I just kind of make sure that starting off the bat, the dogs are going to already have that pre-existing foundation.
Yeah.
So we'll set them up for success always.
How are you doing marketing? Are people just generally finding you, or are you reaching out to places?
So, I mean, early in the business when I was first starting, I actually I spent the entire summer of like 2017 getting up early, going to Central Park during off-leash hours and dog parks and just really approaching people and introducing myself and my new business. And I want to say it kind of just felt natural to me since dogs really bring out a fire in me that I can't describe in words. But they're just an instant conversation starter for me, and I could literally talk about dogs all day, so I have no problem doing that, but also connecting with people face to face to me was a key element in creating strong relationships with the owners and with dogs. And I also feel like, you know, if you get a business card and you kind of just don't meet the person one on one and really kind of get that gut feeling about them, um, it's hard to trust a person with your dog out in the wild. Like I just knew I had to be meeting people and connecting face to face. And I put in a lot of hours doing that. But it was funny. Some people trusted me enough on the spot and actually signed up their dogs for a hike literally the next day. And of course, in any business, it's a process to get rolling, but I was really focused and ready for the challenge, and kind of things happened um, rather quickly. I just was starting to get word of mouth. And at this point, it's all word of mouth. I
Mhm.
don't do much marketing because I also want to keep this sort of niche in a way. I want to
Mhm.
make sure that, I always have room and space for, the dogs that have been with me since day one. And I don't want to become, you know, so big to the point that it becomes impersonal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. And do you have some dogs who go with you every day?
I don't even recommend that really, because
Mhm.
I feel that dogs should have downtime and recovery time in between
Mhm.
hikes. So at most, if it's a very high energetic dog like an Australian cattle or an Aussie or something like that, that they can recharge and regroup very quickly. I don't typically recommend Monday through Friday hikes for any dog, and it also ties into like the personality of that dog. Everything is very personal, and I kind of pride myself on that. I
Mhm.
will do what I need to do. If I need to take a dog off a certain day, and it's not working, or if I need to reduce, one day for a dog because it's not working for the majority of the group, I just kind of look at the majority of the group as a whole and what's best for the majority. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I mean, as far as marketing, it is word of mouth. I'm very selective about the dogs that I take in because I want to keep this very positive, and I also want to make sure that the dogs I'm bringing in are going to only, add to the fun and make it even more positive. And of course, I have dogs that are a little bit high maintenance, that comes with the job, but um, I have some behavioral dogs. I have dogs that, it's, for example, one dog who he was never reactive to any dogs while hiking with me, but I received a call from the owner, and she was devastated that her dog suddenly was showing reactivity to another dog in Central Park um, on this morning, and she just was kind of flabbergasted, didn't know what to do. Um, he was a maturing male. He definitely had, pre-existing anxieties and phobias, and he's definitely a more sensitive dog. He is my heart, and he's just such a phenomenal dog. But it's something that like you just have to learn everything there is to know about every dog in your pack and really know them like the back of your hand.
Mhm.
Um, in order to make sure that they're happy and that it's going to um, work out. Of course, higher maintenance dogs in a pack is not always easy to manage. This particular dog is great with any dog that I bring in, but if we ever see, a dog that's external to the pack in the trail, a dog that's not part of his pack, he will not be so happy about it and a little opinionated. But it's something that I've taken the time to learn everything there is to know about every dog in my pack.
Mhm.
And it's very rewarding kind of working them through their triggers and being able to make a negative into a positive, and just kind of I always like to end the day on a positive note. So even if, it was a rocky start for a particular dog, we just always look at the positive and try and set them up for success. And that's basically my motto, is just setting up every single dog for success, and the people that work for me as well. I mean, I'm very fortunate to have really solid people behind me, and kind of just looking at the big picture, it's very important to make sure that everybody's happy and everybody is set up for success, so not just the dogs.
So you're literally going on all these walks then?
Yeah, I pretty much go on at least 3 hikes. When let's say when we're up to full capacity Monday through Friday, during the year, I'll do at least 3 hikes. I can't physically do 5.
Mhm.
I wish I could, I wish I could. I used to think I was Superwoman, and I used to definitely do 4 at least a week. But, for longevity purposes and being able to do this for a long time, I definitely need to prioritize my own health as well and make sure that I can continue to do this for longevity. So, of course, in any business, taking a step back and trusting people isn't hard, but is hard, I mean. But I have been extremely fortunate to have kind of crossed paths with just amazing individuals that I can wholeheartedly say I trust my baby with. And for example, they're out today. I'm
Mhm.
here doing this podcast with you, and they are actually in the woods right now, doing the Friday hike in my place.
So you have good people, and so you see yourself sort of continuing to go on hikes, but maybe not being the one having to do the pickup and the drop off, because the pickup and the drop off seems like a big deal.
It is. It does take time, and it's more that I just want more flexibility to do more training because, at the end of the day, I really want to spend more time doing that. And having more time to meet with new clients so I don't have to kind of do that on the weekends. Because the way things are right now, all my focus is on the hiking Monday through Friday, and then whatever else I'm doing, especially, the other sides of handling a business, which is scheduling, invoicing, kind of getting everything ready. So for the next week and whatever. I just kind of want to have more time to do all of that during the week. And not to say I won't ever do the pickups or drop offs. I definitely will. But it's just something that I have thought about, and in a way that I can utilize my time better, um, to kind of do more and help more dogs.
The way I found you was I mean, when I saw that you were also a Karen Pryor Academy graduate, I was like, hold on, how did I not how did I not reach out to this person first? But
Right,
but I, we're not walking Poppy a lot for a variety of reasons, which at first I felt really bad about, and now I feel like, you know what, like there's no right or wrong. This is just how we've set up our lives right now,
right,
and like we're doing the best we can for this dog, and I think we're giving her a good life. But I did feel like she needed more just physical exercise than we were able to give her without um, well, I mean, I felt like the 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 way we could get her enough exercise was maybe to like hire a walker to come at least twice a day, which
right,
was really going to add up money wise.
right, right,
And I mean, to have like a professional take her for like a really good walk twice a day would in New York City be, I don't know, it could end up being like $100 a day.
right, right,
And I and I'd heard that there were services that would take your dog out for a hike. And so I tried a couple of them and before you, and I would certainly recommend them. I didn't have a bad experience, but I think as a dog trainer who has a facility that, operates like high-end services that are high-end services that offer a lot to both the dog and the person, I felt
right.
like I, as the as
Hmm.
the human being involved, wasn't getting enough of what I wanted. Like
Right.
maybe she was having a great time, but first of all, I wanted like more information about what was happening. I wanted more photos or more of a like some sort of follow-up. I didn't need like a detailed essay, but just something to make me feel like I was getting some kind of like window into the experience. Because
Right.
I mean, part of what you're doing when you're doing this is making yourself feel like you're doing something good for your dog. And all I could do was sort of trust that in the time she was gone, she was having a good time. Because if they sent me a photo, it was like one photo, it was often a close-up.
Oh, wow.
And if they sent me like a report, it would be like, she's such a great dog. And I was like, I know.
Right.
But tell me more.
Right.
And then the other thing was the ease of pickup and drop off, which one other company I tried did do pickup and drop off, which I appreciated. The other one had like pickup and drop off zones, and
okay.
you could pay extra for them to do a pickup and drop off, but it was like considerably extra, like
Got
I don't
it.
know, like $30 each direction. And
Wow.
So we did that for a few months. We made the pickup and drop off work, but it wasn't particularly convenient, given that, you know, I also had a toddler in tow. So
That's tough. I can't imagine. I understand that.
So I really appreciate that you guys do that. And you charge all of the services, interestingly, charged, I think, the same. It's what you charge, is it $95?
$95, yeah.
$95? Which is, I mean, it's funny because on the one hand, I mean, it's a lot of money to be spending on something that is not, you know, perhaps strictly necessary for your dog. On the other hand, it's quite a bit less than what we charge for our what we call drop-off programs, which are like between 3 and 5 hours at School for the Dogs for a small number of dogs. I think we charge like double that.
Wow.
And we're not taking them anywhere. So compared to School for the Dogs, you're a bargain, which is hilarious, because it's even if I like give myself like a major discount as the owner of the business, it's still probably less expensive.
That's awesome. And I really
to send her with you.
That's awesome. I mean, it does. I would love to hear more about School for the Dogs and how that sort of works. But one client in particular who I think do you know Sunny Day and Surprise?
Yes.
So they were hiking with me for a while, but it was tough coordinating because they lived in Long Island City. But I know that Surprise was coming to School for the Dogs, and I have to say, was the best trained Shiba I've ever met. He was phenomenal. I mean, he was great on the trails. He was such a good dog. So my hat's off to you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, he's a good boy, and Sunny Day was also a very good boy. I admire your business, and you know, I love what you guys do.
Thank you so much. And we should definitely figure out like some Shape Up Your Pup School for the Dogs joint outings sometime soon.
Oh, I would love that. I would love that, absolutely. And if
maybe we could do like you could lead a hike with our clients or something like that.
Oh my God, that would be so much fun. Let's definitely do that. And give my love to Poppy. She's my little princess.
I will. She's the best.
She's the best.
Oh, she really is. She, you know, we have a back deck, and she loves to just go and sit out there in the sun, which is what she's doing. Take in the rays.
Lucky girl. I could totally see that. We're just overjoyed to have her, and I feel very blessed. So thank you for trusting me with her and, you know, doing this for her.
School for the dogs.
Thank you so much for listening, and special thanks to Bill and Lizzie of Toast Garden for the amazing theme song. You can find Toast Garden at youtube.com/toastgarden. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review on iTunes. You can also support us by shopping at storeforthedogs.com, and you can learn more about us at schoolforthedogs.com. You can also connect with other listeners by downloading our brand new app. Just visit schoolforthedogs.com/community.